Ready to roll?
Yeah.
Okay. The meeting of the HABD Board of Commissioners is now called to order. We'll start with a moment of silence. Amen. All right, roll call. Vice Chairman Todd.
Present.
Commissioner Hood. Commissioner Pantazis.
Present.
Commissioner Lewis.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. Adoption of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a motion that we adopt the agenda as printed.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the agenda is adopted. Recognition of HABD Employee of the Month for January 2020. Mr. Lundy.
Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman, Commissioners, the presentation of Employee of the Month for January is being postponed until next month, when the Employee of the Month for both January and February will be presented. Okay.
All right, very good. All right, approval of the minutes for regular meeting January 16th, 2020.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for January 16, 2020.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the minutes have been approved. All right, old business. Any old business? All right, Mr. Lund, I have a couple of items. One of them is a financial services contract. I want to see where we are with that. I know that that bid went out several months ago, and I just want to get an update on where we are with the financial services contract.
I will ask Ms. Abington to address that. Is that you, when you?
Banking.
Are you referring to banking?
Yeah.
Yes.
The banking's been closed. They're evaluating as far as I know.
Because I know that was several months ago. And
It's with the evaluation team.
Okay, when did it go out?
I think it went out in November. They asked for an extension because it happened during the Thanksgiving, Christmas, so we gave them until the end of December to get their responses in.
Okay, so do we have a timetable on when we should get that back?
I know it's in committee right now. I'm not on the committee, but I know it's in committee.
Ms. Foster, you have any
Yes, it'll be prepared for the board.
next month?
Okay, thank you. Also, I know we were in the process of doing the assessments in our communities for our educational piece. I think last we heard that they were in the process of doing the assessments. Just want to get an update on where we are with those assessments.
So we had a kickoff meeting with the consultant, GPS, and I believe that was probably last month, and we're just waiting for their response.
Okay.
On the assessments as we speak.
Okay, so the assessments are taking place.
Yes.
Okay, very good, very good.
That's the assessment for only Hilton, the two centers?
The two sites that was discussed, and when they come back, we take a look at that and then make a recommendation going forward in terms of providing the educational services, doing procurement for educational services at all the sites.
Well, and we can move on, but I know I expressed a concern about maybe just doing it at the two sites. And when I thought about it a little bit further, when I looked at the sites that were selected, I think it was Illington and Smithfield, if I'm not mistaken. And those are pretty much in the same community when you look at Illington and Smithfield. So I thought it probably would have been a better way to get a better snapshot if we maybe had done a community on the west side and maybe on the east side to kind of get a better snapshot. Because I know with Smithfield and Illington, those communities are almost in a cluster. They're within walking distance. But nonetheless, I guess we'll wait and see how the assessments go, and then we can kind of move on from there. Okay. All right. Any other old business? All right. New business. Any new business? All right, hearing none. President CEO report, Mr. Lundy.
All right, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman, Commissioners, to the staff, to citizens of Birmingham, to the residents, I have three items to discuss this afternoon. The first one is the Southeastern Region Council of Public Housing Authorities 28th Annual Martin Luther King Basketball Tournament. The acronym is the CERT MLK Basketball Tournament. And it was hosted here in Birmingham during the Martin Luther King holiday weekend. It was a huge success, and this is one of those activities that the Housing Authority of Birmingham District participates in on an annual basis. And usually these tournaments are hosted in within the region, but this is the first time, as I understand it, that it was actually hosted by the Housing Authority here, the Housing Authority of the Birmingham District. So we were pleased to be the host. Hats off to all of my staff who really did the heavy lifting for the coordination and all of the all the heavy lifting, the dirty work of getting sponsors and identifying the location for the tournament. We were fortunate to host the tournament at the Carver High School gymnasium, which is a great facility. The first time I've been in that facility, and I didn't realize how wonderful it really is. It has several courts right there in the facility. We had a huge response from around the region. We had 5 states within the region and 12 housing authorities who came to Birmingham. It was about 300 youth in total. The purpose of the program was to use basketball as an alternative to negative activities, drugs and criminal activity, gangs and unhealthy activities for youth. And this tournament has been in place for, as I said, for 28 years. Some of the, one of the founders, who is a executive director of one of the housing authorities in the district, said that this is probably one of the best tournaments of the 28 years that was hosted here in Birmingham. So it's really hats off to the staff. Some of the activities were as follows. We had basketball games for the age group 18 down to 16 was one group. We had 2 teams that participated in that category. We had 7 teams that participated in the age group of 15 to 13 to 15. We had 7 teams that participated at 12 and under. And then we had 5 groups that participated in cheer and dance. And I'm happy to report that the Housing Authority of Birmingham District cheer and dance team won first place. And so they tend to do very well every year, so they won first place. We also won second place trophy for 15 and under, as well as 12 and under. So hats off to everybody who participated in that, all the kids. There was one other component to the tournament, and that was the educational component. We were able to arrange for all 300 kids to attend the Civil Rights Museum free of charge. Well, it was a nominal fee of $5 a kid, and the Housing Authority of Birmingham District made that possible for the participants. And so, again, hats off to the staff for a job well done. As a matter of fact, we were asked to host the tournament for next year as well. So we look forward to that. The next thing that I wanted to report is the limited remote review by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. So there were several reviews from time to time. The department will take a look at the housing authorities that they oversee, and they will conduct reviews just to make sure that they are in compliance. So in January, we received notice that the department wanted to do a rent reasonableness review for Housing Choice Voucher Program. And what that really is they take a look at the contract rents that we established for our participants, and they compare those rents with similar apartments within the neighborhoods. And so we want to make sure that we compare apples with apples. So if you have a 3-bedroom apartment that has air conditioning in the private sector, and you have a 3-bedroom apartment that would be rented by one of our participants that doesn't have air conditioning, then we wouldn't expect that to be the same rent. And so they did the rent reasonableness comparison. And as I understand it at this point, we haven't received an official report, but the unofficial report is that we did very well. And so we expect to get a formal letter within the next 30 days stating that we did well in that limited review. The next limited review has to do with CMAP, and it has to do with our annual score. You know, back in October, the department issued a CMAP score of 100%, which we were very proud. We were high performer again, and first time that the Housing Authority of Birmingham District has received a perfect score. So they did a further review, and they determined that, so one of the performance indicators is the quality control inspections. So you have to have all the inspections that you conduct every year. You have to conduct inspections every year. There's a indicator where you do quality control inspections, where you do a percentage of those total inspections, and just to ensure that those inspections were done correctly. And we initially said that we did very, we got 100%, we got all points for that one. They came back and they saw one that was, the quality control inspection was done. However, there was, when the inspection was done, there was corrections, there was deficiency. The deficiency wasn't corrected within 30 days. And so because of that, they took those points away and issued a score of 93, which is still high performance status. And they looked at their sample. They had a sample that they pulled, and in that sample they found one that was not corrected within 30 days. So I've had a recent discussion with with our HUD, I guess we call them specialists, technical specialists, and had a discussion because the more I thought about it, we conducted, I had this conversation with Ms. Drake, we conducted over 200 quality control inspections throughout the year, which is more than what you have to do. And so the total number of inspections was 200. And if, in fact, because further in the report it says that if you're less than 98% of your quality control inspections, then you won't get all the points. But the more we looked at it, if they looked at the total number of inspections, quality control inspections, then we would have exceeded the 98%. And so we had that discussion just recently, and they asked us to send them some more information to take a look at it. They thought we were making a plausible argument that perhaps maybe they may have missed something. And so even though they sent us this letter that said that they were reducing the score from 100% to 93%, still the same category as a high performance status, that they would take another look, because I think we're still in a good position to for them to reconsider and get the 100%. So I wanted to bring you up to date on that. So the letter that you have attached, it really talks about reducing the score from 100% to 93%. The last thing, third thing that I wanted to report this afternoon is the Foster Youth to Independence Initiative. Now, during our special board meeting, because that was early this month, or yeah, it was early this month, you approved the resolution to revise the Section 8 administrative plan to permit our agency to participate in the homeless prevention program to serve youth aging out of foster care. And on February the 11th, my Vice President of Assistant Housing, Ms. Kanji Drake, and I attended a special event in Montgomery, Alabama, to receive the allocation of 25 tenant protection vouchers to assist those youth that are in foster care, that are aging out of foster care, and that are now critical housing need. And actually, this is, what I learned was that we have almost 1,000 youth within Jefferson County who are aging out of foster care, who may be subject to be homeless. And so that's an unmet housing need that we have here in Jefferson County. So we were fortunate enough to get 25, and to the extent that we can help these 25, then we'll probably go back to the department and get additional vouchers. So we're excited about that. We happen to be the first housing authority in the state to receive this designation, receive this program. There were 11 other housing authorities who attended the ceremony, but we were the first to get the referral, the official referral from the department out of DC. Let me just take a moment to share with you a little bit about the first participant to be a part of this program. She is a young mother who is currently residing at the YWCA here in Birmingham, in the shelter. She is a full-time student at Jefferson State Community College. HABD is assisting her with the voucher. It's a partnership between the Department of Housing, Urban Development, the Housing Authority, and DHR, the Department of Human Resources. And the Department, DHR, is providing the counseling, we provide the voucher, and then of course, the department provides the assistance through the voucher. We're also, I would just share with you that we're also providing additional assistance to our participants. This young lady, we've assisted her with some clothing, as well as some personal items, as well through a special fund that we have. Sweet young lady, she's very, very motivated. I've asked her to offer her to sign up for our homeownership program, so when she ages out of the voucher program, which is a 3-year program, I want her to be in a position to become a homeowner. And so I've asked her, we'll be talking to her about that, as well as applying for our scholarship foundation to assist her in her education pursuit. So that concludes my report. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lundy. Any comments concerning Mr. Lundy's report?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
It's the first one on the athletic event that transpired this past year. It's always been a great success to hear that our kids did real well. But I'd like for something to be added during the year, that we look at our total effort in terms of athletic process here, to keep our kids involved all year long in something more organized form, that they can be competitive with one another, rather than just one big program once a year. I'm looking at something every day to keep them involved. It's good that they're involved like this, but my experience is that if the community learn to play together, they'll learn how to treat each other. So this is what I'm more interested in. Again, it was a grand expectation that transpired, but all year long, you know, they're not doing anything that I know of that is more engaging on a weekly basis in competition. That's the one thing I like to see, a quarter report on what type of organized activity we have, not just playing ping pong in the gym and volleyball, because I want that to happen as well, but how we're coming together as a community together is what I'm seeking. So maybe they can be on the agenda in the next 3 months. Now, the availability that you mentioned about the young lady who has gotten the voucher, has she already been placed in one of our facilities, or that's something ongoing at this point?
So I think she just got issued a voucher.
Yes, so we were able to receive that each voucher recipient or referrer from DHR must go directly to the National HUD office with the request with all the information. We received yesterday official email that HUD has approved to increase our ACC contract and also approved that voucher. So we got that yesterday afternoon. The family will be coming in tomorrow to actually get the voucher. Well, we'll sit with her one-on-one,
Okay.
and she's already identified to us what area she wants to live in. So this will be apart from public housing. It'll be a housing choice voucher. And I've already met with her CLC, the Continuum of Care, her specialist with youth towers. They're also going to assist with security deposits, application fees, utilities, and things like that, and assist her with searching and gas. So we've already kind of connected the dots, just working together to be able to house this family.
Right, and
They're very good, yeah.
Very good.
you're very helpful to hear that. They will only be eligible for Section 8 housing, or would they be, I guess I got my answers.
Well, the option,
Okay.
it's for the voucher program.
Okay,
So, that's where they're coming in through.
I got you
through
now.
voucher, not
I got you, that'd be
public
Section 8
housing. But I
only.
guess if they wanted to go to public housing, they just can't go with the voucher.
I understand.
You know.
Well, I think that might be something that might let them also know that too. I don't know. Would they be available? Because I don't know the availability of housing opportunities in Section 8 because the overload that we already have of so many people trying to get into Section 8. And we are trying to implement another program. So I don't know what the availability is going to be and how often we're going to be trying to offer this program to the young adults, but I think it's a good thing. I don't think we shouldn't stop. I just want to know the availability. And when we open this gate and everybody find out about it, they're going to be trying to seek that same opportunity. And we need to be able to be ready to house them in a place. So that's what I'm thinking about at this point. Because you know the word going to get out. And we're going to be able to be ready for them. And if we back them up like we doing Section 8 with the regular, that's going to be an issue. So we got to be careful how we move forward and try to make it available when we put our word out that we got this program.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
all right.
We just have to keep it. Our referrals come from DHR.
But they got
So
plenty
they
of
have certain, yes, sir, they
Right.
have certain criteria they have to meet with DHR to get referred down to the housing authority.
Ms. Drake, I hear that.
Okay.
Housing, DHR trying to get rid of folks. They gonna try their criteria, but believe me, they gonna try to find some other ways to help get those kids out of DHR. And we don't open a door for them to try to get in, and they're gonna do everything they can do to get all those kids off of them, all those young adults off them. And there's a lot of them out there. So however you saying, whatever criteria they set up, believe me, they come here as soon as they find out we got a door open.
Well, you know, one of the things that we know for a fact that we've got about 1,000 kids that are facing this predicament.
That's when they come.
And so this is an effort to try to create a program to house them and provide them services. And, you know, there may be, I'm sure there'll be some challenges along the way. We feel pretty confident we're going to be able to service these 25 vouchers with respect to the athletic programs, I think recently, I don't know if last month or the month before, the board asked for a presentation on the community centers, and so there was a lot of discussion, reporting on the various activities, intramurals, and I know, Mr. Vice Chairman, that was been one of the things that you've been stressing for some time now. And so we were able to present to the board all the intramural activities that we've engaged the youth in, and then actually had numbers and testimonials from the kids all in the packet. And be happy to continue to report on this on a regular basis, because we want to expand it, increase it every year.
All right, sir. Thank you. Or any other questions concerning Mr. Lundy's report? Well, I would like to add that I did get an opportunity to attend the CERC basketball tournament, and I didn't get a chance to stay very long, but I did catch a couple games, and I did stay to watch the HABD dance team perform, and I must say they did an awesome job. They really did. They showed out. So kudos to you, Mr. Lundy, and the staff for putting together a great event. Like I said, I didn't stay very long, but from the part that I saw, it looked like everything was going smooth. Looked like the kids were having fun, having a great time. So that's what we like to hear. Again, kudos to you and your staff. The staff was very friendly when I arrived, and it seemed to be very engaged with the kids. The coaches were coaching; they were intense, and so it was a good time had by all. Again, congratulations to the Housing Authority and the staff for putting on a great event. Thank you very much. What I'd like to do is, at this time, I'd like to go back for a minute, if I can get general consent from this board, to discuss new business. One of the things that I would like to do is to try to schedule a work session within the next 30 to 60 days, Mr. Lundy. And what I'd like to do is get a comprehensive report on our public relations and our marketing efforts. I know that's one of the things that we've talked about in the past, and kind of want to see where we are with our PR, our marketing, our messaging. I think that the Housing Authority is doing a lot of great things, and I think we need to make sure that we're putting together a comprehensive effort. And we're working along with our partners. I know we procured a PR and marketing firm, and I would like to know exactly what they're doing, how they're engaging with our staff, and you working with our messaging, getting our message out, because I think that a lot of times what happens is when messaging does not go out properly, a lot of times things get misconstrued and bad information goes out. And so I would like to see if we can schedule that within the next 30 to 60 days and just really have a comprehensive overview of where we are with our PR, our marketing, our messaging, how we can make it more robust, how we can augment it so that it's more comprehensive and not just kind of targeted to one specific area or one specific community, more of a holistic approach on our efforts. So we can kind of put that on the radar and schedule that within the next 30 to 60 days. And I would like to do that in the format of a work session, because I think it may take about an hour, hour and a half to do that. Okay. And I think that's all I have. Thank you for your report, Mr. Lundy, and we can move on down to financial services.
All right, Chairman, Vice Chairman, Commissioners, we have, looks like 4 items, 3 of which are action items, and one is a report. And I have my Vice President of Financial Services, Ms. Atherton.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Okay, before I have you the financial statements, and I've done 3 of them for you this time. So the first one is public housing and central office. And you'll know public housing and central office, the total revenue is $20 million. So if you look down the line, you'll find $20 million. Anything that's more than 10%, I'll give you a reason. Mod inspectors, we still have a vacant mod inspector position. Number 2 is other income, and other income is under budget. As you guys remember, we were removed from the city's budget for our community centers. Number 3 is insurance proceeds, and the majority of our insurance proceeds paid in January, so I'm thinking next month we won't be so far off. We might actually be over, having more than we should, because it's over a 12-month period. Number 4 is office expense, and the only thing I can come up with on office expense is that the staff is actually paying attention and not overusing paper and just being mindful of their spending in the office expense arena. Number 5 is training and travel, and we're under budget in that. We should get back on track with training and travel, but in the first part of the year, we're kind of doing REAC and CMAP and closing, so not as many people are traveling. So I feel like that'll move up. I doubt it'll ever get to the 100%, but I think it's going to move up. Tenant services is number 6, and we are under budget. That is because nobody's really asked us for our money yet. I think we started paying some of them in January. So January, I believe I'll see some additional tenant participation funds being paid out. Gas is under budget, and that's because winter started kind of in December, although it doesn't feel like it today. It feels really cold. And number 8, we're over in maintenance materials and maintenance contract costs. The majority of that is because of the first 3 months of the year when we're doing our preparation for REAC. And number 10, we are over budget in our capital asset additions. Those are directly related to the insurance proceeds. We haven't received our money, but we've actually paid the expenses of those. And that's why I think once I receive the money, I'm going to be over budget in the money, but they'll play against one another. So don't get excited. I mean, I know it's like an $800,000 profit, but it's not real. I mean, it really won't be when it's all said and done. It'll probably zero out as the year moves along. Number 2 is housing choice voucher.
Excuse me, Ms. Evans, I have a question.
Okay.
Back to item number 1, mod inspector salary.
Yeah.
It seems to me that we've had a vacancy there for the last 3 or 4 years. Seems like when we go down this budget, every year, on the mod inspector salary, there's a vacancy.
You're correct.
So why is that? Why do we
Budgeted
continue to
in our-
budget for a position that we haven't filled in 4 years?
As our development increases, we're going to need the mod inspector. So there were times when we didn't need it, so why pay for something out of our capital funds that's unnecessary? So that position is budgeted 100% out of the capital funds. So if we don't use it, we take the money from capital funds and put it into something else eventually. But if we eliminate it out of capital funds, then we don't have the ability to hire them when everything gets going. And I know you guys all showed up at Freedom Manor, and everybody talked about James being our hard guy, our hard line guy. So he's one of our inspectors that's paid for out of that. And we currently have 2. But as our development increases, as our RAD program expands, we're going to need another inspector.
So what you're saying is, I want to make sure I understand you correctly. If we do not budget for the mod inspector salary, when the time came to hire a mod inspector, if it's not budgeted, then we could not make an amendment to the budget to hire a mod inspector.
It wouldn't be just to that budget. It would be to the capital fund budget and to the operating budget. It would have to go through 2 budgets. So it's just easier to leave it in there and explain to you that we're down that 1 position. So when the time comes, and I think they're actually actively seeking that candidate right now, we would have it. It's a difficult position to fill, and it has always been, because there's an education component to it and the experience. And so that's That's a hard person to find, and
All
we're
right.
very lucky when we find them.
All right, well, we're gonna stick a pin in that, and then when we do our budget session, then we'll discuss that further. Yeah.
It's not money that can be used for anything else, so it's money that comes in, but if you say you don't want that position, then the money and the expense will disappear. It will not be money that can be used for any other position. It's the only position that can come directly out of the capital funds unless we had an architect or an engineer on staff, because it comes from a specific line. So HUD doesn't allow us to, like, a portion of my salary can come from capital funds, but it comes from a totally different line. That is the only position that can come from what's called 1430. So removing it doesn't help financially, I will say that. And having it there doesn't hurt financially either way.
All right, we'll stick a pin in it, and we'll discuss that in the budget session. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
The next one is Housing Choice Voucher, and they, I'm gonna say, did pretty well this 6 months out of the year. So they're over budget in their fraud income, meaning they collected more fraud income than we budgeted initially, and that is, I know if you remember in the last year, I would tell you, Housing Choice Voucher was learning how to do their fraud and collect their fraud. I'm gonna say they've learned how to do it. Kanju's done an excellent job teaching them. Other income is under budget, and HABD chose to absorb all of our portables, so we don't have port income, meaning other housing authorities aren't paying us. We might get a little bit of it, and then we go ahead and absorb their voucher. But that's why we're under budget in our other, or over budget. Well, we're under budget in that. I don't know. Number 3, travel and training. They are over budget. They did have a housing specialist certification that took place in July of 2019. They trained 16 of their workers. We had that on site. So they're over budget, but we don't anticipate them having more training through, other training, but not those particular people. Gas is still under budget because winter hasn't started, and there was a repair that was done in the bathroom. So contract costs are over budget, just waiting for that repair to take place, and should level out by the time the year end's done. But like I said, they did pretty well. They were at about $200,000 so far, and that is hard for any other, I don't know of any other Housing Choice Voucher program that could say that they were making that kind of money. So they're doing very well, keeping their costs under control.
Excuse me, Ms. Abbott, we have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, I need to go back to the tenant services. And you said they was under budget?
It's just the tenant participation funds.
That's what I mean. Is there any reason why they should be under budget if they filling out their paperwork? It takes a while to get it, and we were told that it would take 2 weeks, and that has not happened in years.
Yeah, I have to get it so that it's approved, and I have all of the backup, and the sites have to ask for it, so we've been.
I mean, the ones that ask for it still sit down there a very long time.
Yeah, I don't get it until it's ready to go, and when it's ready to go, we'll pay out of our office. We'll go through and check it, but I only know of Morton Simpson's coming, and always Kimbrough Homes comes.
Yeah, that's
So
all.
I tell you
those are
what.
the only 2 that I know of that I've seen.
I tell you what, why don't we do this? So why don't we get a report of all the communities that have requested funds, all right, that have turned in their paperwork, the documentation, and the ones that have requested their funds, and also see exactly, or we can get an estimate of when they should receive the funds. And in addition, I would like to know of the communities that requested funds and don't have their paperwork in place to receive the funds. All right, so.
It'll have to come from 2 separate departments, because when they get to me, then
Well, the request is to Mr. Lundy, yeah, so So however
Okay. Okay.
however whoever we need to talk to, that's fine.
I
The
think
request.
we've got that information, so I don't think it'll be that difficult.
Yeah, because I know for years, we've been under budget with the tenant funds, and my understanding is that from you is that a lot of them aren't requesting the funds, all right? And if for the ones that are requesting the funds, there may be some issues where all the paperwork is not in place for them to receive the funds.
That's correct.
Well, if that's the case, then I think as a board, we should know, we want to know where we're deficient at. So which communities may need a little help with maybe, working with a fiscal agent to assist them with making sure that they have their paperwork together in order to receive the funds. Okay, so I don't think it's good enough to say, well, we have, the funds are available, but the community didn't do what they needed to do to receive the funds. So I think maybe we need to take it a step further and assist the communities with making sure that they have their paperwork in place to receive the funds, right?
Okay.
Okay.
So if it's the pleasure of the board, we'll have that report next month, next
Okay.
board meeting.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
All right, okay, thank you.
Okay, and the last one, this was the hot topic last month. So this is business activities. So if it's okay with the board, can I present this to you on a quarterly basis? Like I
Yes.
said, there's not a ton of activity that takes place, but I'll provide it to you however you want. I could do it similar to how I'm doing Section 8 on a quarterly basis if that pleases the board. So right now.
Excuse me, Mr. Abbott, let me ask my colleagues if they would be okay with it. Because I would be fine with a quarterly report. But that may not be the consensus.
Right, on that tenant service though, maybe just for this one time, maybe we need to get a update quickly because there's some people who might be needing some assistance. And then after we get that report, then we can go to the quarterly.
Well, I think
Give you monthly.
she was discussing, we were talking about the,
No, I went back to the tenant.
oh, yeah, okay, all right.
I know where I was.
Okay, all right, okay. Well,
So my understanding, we're
yeah.
just gonna get that report next month.
Yeah, so Mr. London said he was gonna bring that next
I'm
month.
sorry,
yeah.
I'm off
Okay.
track.
That's okay.
All
Yeah.
right,
Okay,
we good.
Good?
all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is like a kind of a different financial statement than what you guys have seen in the past. It basically will show you the bank balance at the beginning of the fiscal year, any monies or expenses that went in, and then where we are at the end of the fiscal year. And then as Mr. Pentasis recommended, I listed any outstanding loans that we have at the bottom of the page so that you could see what funds we have out, who they're to, and do we plan on getting them back. So this one's net assets as of 12/31 were $4,881,000. $4,008,000. This is the fund that in January received, I think it was $2.6 or $2.7 million when you said, where did you put the money? This is the fund that it went in. So in the next quarter, you'll see that come in as a revenue line. What you do have to realize is that they're included in this balance are $750,000 that the city has given the housing authority to give to the village at Titusville. And once that happens, the balance will go down $750,000, and the loan for Loveman redevelopment, one city home funds will go up to $1.5 million, which is what that loan is actually for. We just haven't funded it all the way. Do you have any questions on this one?
Any questions? No.
Okay, and these are the development funds that we basically have available, and basically the $5 million we've said we were going to give to Southtown at this point. So just to give you some history on the Loveman redevelopment, when they paid that money back to the housing authority, the $5 million construction loan, they're anticipating us loaning them back that same money to do Loveman 2. And that was in our agreements that we've taken to you in the past. So we're really looking to put some more money into this account and build it up. It looks like a lot, but actually most of this money is already spoken for. okay?
Okay.
Like I told you, it's nothing that we're trying to run anything out of. It's very odd that we would take anything out that isn't actually necessary. Because if I could take it from any other program, I would. It's when there's no other place for it to come from that it's got to come from here. Okay, next is the tenant accounts receivable. And the write-off is $45,599.70. And of that, $34,400 is rent. There's no late charges. $3,800 in maintenance charges. $8,000 in legal fees, and of the $45,000, almost $10,000 of it came after the judge issued the writ. And as far as where we are in this fiscal year compared to last fiscal year, we're still $100,000 less in write-offs than we were at the same time last year. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? All right, if I can entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend we approve the write-off, tenant write-off.
All right, it's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that item's approved.
Good job.
Well, I got some good stuff now.
That was good right there. Being lucky.
Okay, so these are new for the Housing Authority. So the first one that I'm bringing to you is the approval for the community rules and regulations. And this will be for any multifamily or PBRA property, which at the current point is Freedom Manor, eventually will be Farrington Homes. So to operate in this program, HUD requires that we do what they consider community rules and regulations specific. This will be an add-on to the lease. And any changes that we have, we will change. It might affect the lease, but the lease will not come. It will always be changes to this particular document that will affect the lease. So, yes, ma'am.
Question.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
The language in this rules, can this language be changed? Because some of it is like questionable, really.
Depends on what the language is.
Okay, let me read you part of it. Okay, it says that the residents may be permitted to have guests to visit their household. However, this visit is restricted to no more than 14 days and nights within a 12-month period.
That's
Ridiculous. I don't think nobody's family in here, that somebody can come and visit your house a whole year,
No, there's-
14 days.
staying the night.
I understand, that's
Yeah.
exactly what I mean.
That's public housing rules. That's in your public housing lease, is it not?
Consecutive, 14
It said,
consecutive.
no, it didn't say consecutive.
It's consecutive. I mean, we can change it to add consecutive.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, the
Okay.
language, it needs to be changed.
Exactly.
Okay, which one is that?
And there was another one also.
She said, what's that one?
What page were you on?
It's page 2 of 14 under apartment occupancy.
Okay,
Yes,
So this is a public housing guideline. That's something that's,
public housing, but it should be, we tried to sync it with public housing so that it's similar, but it's specific for multifamily and project-based rental assistance. It's actually more detailed than public housing.
well, I guess what I'm asking is this language with the 14 days and within a 12-month period, is that consistent with?
They're
public?
saying consecutive, so we'll add the,
it didn't.
Okay, wait, hold on. We gotta get some order, all right? So, what I'm asking is this language that says, the visit restricted to no more than 14 days and nights within a 12-month period, is this language consistent with the public housing, language that we currently have, is what I'm asking?
if you
That
add
would
the
be
word
somebody from
consecutive,
housing operations.
which we're going to add the word consecutive, because when I.
Well, Ms. Abington, that's not what I'm asking, is this information
Chairman,
consistent?
I would defer to someone in housing
counsel.
operations.
So to answer your question forthright, no, it's not.
That's all I wanted to
Because the
know.
word consecutive is missing.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know, okay. All right, go ahead, Commissioner, you have some more
Okay, the
questions?
next one is extended absence. And this one says that, an extended absence from an apartment in a period of time in excess of 14, that's the 14 consecutive days, that's something different, may be considered abandonment. Now, if you went on a boat cruise or something, you was gone for 3 or 4 weeks, you abandoned even though you pay your rent?
Oh, no, I think you would probably just tell management you weren't gonna be there, so they.
No, it says upon the management's approval. Suppose the management does not approve it.
I don't think they can
Now, I'm just
disapprove.
saying, this is what's written.
I don't think they can
Yeah, this
disapprove
is what
it.
is it on approvals, you know.
What page is that?
This is on page 3 of 14.
All right, let's get an order. Which item?
Page 3 of 14,
Okay.
down where it said extended absence abandonment.
We can leave it at prior management notification and just take the approval portion off, because I don't think they need to approve it.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but that's what's written. That's why I was saying language needs to be changed a little bit.
So, Mr. Lundy, if I could ask, this particular document that was crafted, who came up with this language? Is this an attorney that we had to review this?
No, this was
This is,
Ms. Valerie Holmes, who handles our low-income housing tax credit properties. And Valerie, do you want to respond to that
Sure. Basically,
for us?
I came from private management for the housing.
Okay, can we get you to come to the podium? Yes.
Okay, so my background is affordable housing, private management, and I've worked for HUD as their contract administrator, done audits on things like this, the HUD lease, the community rules. So this is a combination of my experience from working at this type property that we're gonna manage. These community rules, they're pretty much consistent with what the industry uses for the HUD properties.
Okay. All right.
And so, Ms. Holmes, there wouldn't be any prohibition with softening some of the language in terms of what Commissioner Lewis mentioned,
Yes.
with the approval, prior approval.
Sure, we can change.
Let's just say
anything.
notice to management that you're gonna go on a cruise or you're gonna be on extended absence. I think
Yeah,
that
it's
would be
basically just to
enough.
get the residents to communicate with management. We just wanna know if you're gone for a period of time, and, yeah, so we can soften the language.
How soon does this need to be approved, to be put into use?
so we can move the tenants in.
So it needs to be done fairly quickly then? Yeah, okay. Are there any other issues we have with this? Because we may want to,
Well, to be honest with you, I have not read it in its entirety, but I would like to see if we could have an attorney to review it. That was going to be my question. If we could make sure that we're not in violation of any, laws or anything, discrimination. So I would like to see if we could have our legal team review it before it comes to, before we approve it. That would be my recommendation.
So I guess I would ask staff, it may butt up against our leasing efforts. And I guess one thing that I would suggest to the board as a alternative would be to consider this today, and in the interim, we can come back next month. We're not going to do anything, but we can assure this board we're not going to do anything harsh to penalize any residents moving into any of our properties, but give us another 30 days to have it reviewed by an attorney, soften some of the language, come back to the board with a revision.
my initial understanding, this is kind of attached as an addendum to the lease, so you can permanently evaluate it and change it as you go, and all we got to do is change the language in here, and it changes it for every lease.
That's right.
That's not the case with the next one, though.
Okay, I would be okay with that for this. That way it gives us time to change it. That way you can. It's in.
Yeah. Well, I understand what you're saying, but I don't know. Keep in mind now, hypothetically speaking, let's say something does happen and this document is not within the law, and something happens within 30 days, okay? So now we were held accountable.
Yeah, my concern would be if we're not meeting our obligations and fall afoul of the law there too, though, with our tenants, if we don't let them move in. So,
We're not, I could say to this board, we're not gonna evict anybody in 30 days. We're not gonna do anything punitive to any of the residents moving in. They just move it in and get them situated. Will give us enough time to review this and soften it up. This was, as Ms. Holmes mentioned, basic information has been used in the industry. I don't think she made up anything. The stuff that's been pulled off the shelf.
Yeah, well, I don't think anybody made the accusation that she made anything up.
I guess,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman,
Vice Chair.
I don't know whether or not this might be feasible, Dennis, is that, do we have to attach this to the application at this point? Couldn't it be at a later time that we can do some general connections to it, and then later on add these addendum that is necessary so we can go on with the process? That's what I'm asking now. You know, since we have some questions about the totality of this whole document, and we know that there's a need now for people to move in, could we just look at some basic guidelines, and we can do another addendum
I
later
don't know
on?
how we would attach it if it's not already attached to the lease. We can
Right,
change
no.
it.
I'm saying that maybe something that is more softened, that's more routine, that we can go ahead and allow persons to move in with some rules and regulations in place.
You make a good point, Reverend. What about the language that we use currently right now with our public housing?
Yeah. Just use something.
Is there some type, so within our public housing sites, the document that's used for our residents within public housing, could we use that information as a placeholder?
No, it's strictly, it was prohibited, because I looked to that first. Before we had to do this, I thought, can we do this through our ACOB? No. We went back, the rules are specific. These are the two documents that need to happen. Valerie's saying we can hold on the resident, the community house rules and do a mass signing on the community house rules after we do the leases. But I'm just saying on the one that's called resident selection, that one has to be done before anybody can come in. Not necessarily the Freedom Manor return residents, but it's anybody else, because this is how we're gonna go through and select the residents for it. So this has to be in place before we actually select the residents. So the second one can't wait, the first one could wait.
Okay.
Reverend Todd.
And which one? The one that we was concerned with, that's the first one
The
on
first
page?
one, yes.
You said that can wait.
That one can't
Okay,
wait.
that's what all the questions are then.
I don't know if you have any questions on the second one.
We may have questions.
We haven't had much time to look at it, but I do agree that we need to move forward, and at some point, if we find that there are some questionable things out there that have been evaluated by a legal team, we can come back to that and make whatever necessary adjustments that were going to be appropriate in the legal realm. That's the way I see it.
And if the commissioner could tell us of any others that she has in there, then that would,
Have a finished reading.
I'm just thinking that would make it better.
And then we talking about-
Send a good document to have evaluated.
And then you're looking at, you say maybe about 30-some days before we actually move on tenants in?
We're talking in the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
Next couple of weeks? Oh, okay then. But we still can go ahead and do some document. I think we get it to legal services as soon as we leave here. And hopefully by the next few days, they can tell us something within that time frame. It shouldn't take that long to do that.
Yeah, I don't think it would take long to review the document.
No.
I think we have a staff that, a legal team that we procured that, I know they have a lot of HUD experience. Maybe that's something they can review, Mr. Lundy, within short order. And, you know, to make, but I would say, moving forward, I think all of our documents, as far as, concerning our tenants, I would recommend they all be reviewed by an attorney before they're, before they, we do?
yes.
Okay. But this particular one, we didn't, but the normal the process is it's reviewed by our attorney.
Right.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can I make the recommendation that we go ahead and approve it on the basis that our legal team has already looked at it, and if they don't find any issues, issues to be concerned about, that we go ahead and use the documents once it's reviewed.
All right, we have a motion on the floor.
So after it's reviewed,
Yeah.
because this has to be signed, and I really wouldn't want to sign it like this.
No, that ain't what I'm saying. I'm saying on the recommendation of a legal team looking at it to make sure that it's in conformity of what need to be legally done in terms of the right wording and the softening of the words.
Okay, so legal and maybe with a recommendation of
That's correct.
Lewis.
That's correct, yeah.
So I'm a little unclear on what the motion, I want to make sure we got.
Motion is that what's Commissioner Lewis has already stated that need to be corrected, that goes into the document. And because we hadn't had a full opportunity to read the rest of the document, that in the 2 weeks period before they move anyone into a house, that our legal service has already looked at the rest of it to make sure that we comply.
We'll get her recommendations, put them in the document and send it to the attorneys. That's what you're saying?
Wait,
No, we already said what she's already suggested, go into the document,
But
soften the language.
if she has more.
Right, and the rest of it, we go ahead and allow our legal team to look at it.
So Commissioner Lewis, what is it what do you want to see in the document? Because I think it needs to be specific, because we make a motion, if we make a change to the document, if you want to make, I guess, when we say softening, what does soften mean? So, it may, I don't know, so with the document.
Language like Warmer said, the management's approval,
Right.
that part taken out, that's what I mean
Take that out.
softening. And a couple of things, it don't seem like a lot, but it need to be, because if it's written and we have to sign it.
Correct.
So I would not want to sign it until it's corrected.
Right.
So she was saying it's okay but that we have a lease already. A regular lease, this is the attachment to the
Right.
lease.
Now, I was saying, I'll take that statement out.
Well, that's what I said. We'll
Approval.
put
Right.
consecutive in on the one part, we'll take out approval on the other.
Together.
Any other suggestions she have, we'll put them in the document before we send it to legal review, so that you should be good with it at that point.
Well, you can't make that assumption. You can't make the assumption that she should be good.
Well, if
So-
her recommendation, she should, but you guys should all look at it.
Right.
So we're talking about two different documents, so there's rules and regs and the resident selection,
The
right?
resident selection has to be done for us to move in other tenants. Like, they have a right to return. Any Freedom Manor resident has a right to return if they were in the group that chose to return. Other residents, we have to have this to make a selection for them. We have to have a criteria of how we chose them, and that's the next document.
What if we table rules and regs for a month? Everybody legal,
Order. Go ahead.
everybody legal, the community can look at it, provide input, and make a decision on the rules and regs, since we don't need it to get the residents in. As to the resident selection, we go ahead and have Ms. Lewis review it, have it sent to legal, and have it approved within 7 days, so that we can then move forward with the resident selection process and comply with our obligations to the tenants,
Yeah.
assuming it meets approval.
So a lot of the resident selection is directly from HUD. It's not.
Mr. Chairman, that's why I earlier suggested to move it like that.
Okay. So, do we have a motion on the table?
I'll put a motion to not approve or to table the community rules and regulations until the board and legal has time to review it, hopefully within the next month for the next board meeting, but to go ahead and tentatively approve the resident selection plan pending legal approval and the suggestions of Commissioner Lewis.
I second it.
Question. All right. So with the tenant selection, that has not been reviewed either. Is that correct?
No.
Okay. All right. But with the tenant selection, that's of that matter needs to be, we need to, we can't delay on that matter.
Only if you want to move people in. We have to have a way to select them. Yes.
Okay, all right.
I mean, if you want to delay moving them in for another month, then that would be a different story.
There's nothing stopping us from revising it before the next
There is
board meeting.
nothing stopping you from
Exactly.
revising it.
Exactly.
We
Right.
get approval from legal and a cursory review, get it in place, move everybody in, and then we can change it.
Exactly.
Okay, all right, so we had a motion on the table. All right, we had a second?
Mm-hmm.
All in favor? All opposed? All right, so,
I'm gonna draw clear.
all right, so we,
Resident selection plan needs to be reviewed by legal within
That's
7
right.
days. And
Yeah,
we also need
got
to
that.
get Ms. Lewis' recommendations accompanied for, and if there's any other comment to it, let's get it in one final version to legal so they can review it and approve it.
all right, so let's do this again, because I heard some unreadiness. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, okay.
Thank you so much, Commissioner.
All right. Approval of the resident selection plan, or we just did it? Okay, all right, procurement, Mr. London.
Chairman, Vice Chairman, Commissioners, we have 3 items.
Excuse me, Mr. London, excuse me. All right, go ahead.
Well, 3 items for consideration for procurement, and I have my Vice President of Special Projects and Support Services, Ms. Foster. Ms. Foster?
Good afternoon, Commissioners,
Good afternoon.
Mr. Lundy, and all that are present today. I come before you to present a board action for approval award for the contract for roofing, siding, and gutter system replacement at the Roosevelt City Housing Community Residential Buildings and Management Office. This includes a new window and a new exterior door to the storage room. An IFB was published to secure a general contractor to provide services requested. The IFB was sent to 73 vendors and 6 business organizations, advertised in the Birmingham News, Birmingham Times, and the Central Office. Two contractors submitted a response to the IFB. Crimson Contractors, $1,975,000. Galley Construction, $2,594,039. Management recommends the contract be awarded to Crimson Contractors. They submitted the lowest responsible bid in the amount of $1,975,000 to provide the roofing, siding, and gutter system replacement.
Any questions? So you said that 73 businesses were contacted
Yes, sir.
and only 2 of them responded
2 responses.
out of 73 businesses.
That's correct.
That's concerning. That's concerning. But okay, we working on some stuff. We're working on
We
some
are
stuff.
working on vendor outreach initiatives, and Mr. Edwards going to speak on those when he do his
Okay,
presentation.
all right,
All right.
all right. If I can entertain a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we accept the bid on Crimson Contractors.
A second.
All right, so moving to property second, all in favor? All right, all opposed? All right, that item's approved. All right. Next item.
Next item is award of contract for HVAC condenser units relocation at the Littleton Village Housing Community. And this will be done for all phases, phase 1, 2, and 3, the phases that was under renovation of 197 units. An IFB was published to secure a general contractor to provide requested services. The IFB was sent to 73 vendors and 6 business organizations, advertised in Birmingham News, the Birmingham Times, Central Office, and posted on our website. 3 contractors submitted a response. Stafford Building Company, $780,179.28. Trader Contractors, $1,003,974. Gowdy Construction, $1,381,250.36. Management recommends that the contract be awarded to Safford Building Company, submit the lowest responsible bid in the amount of $780,179.28.
Yeah. Commissioner Todd?
Tell me something about Stafford Building Company. Tell me what information you have on them. I want to know something about their work ethics, their employment ethics. I just want to give me some general information on some stuff here, because this is a very new organization to me.
Yes, I do know that they worked for the Housing Authority in the past. They did fire damage units at various sites that we manage. I'm not sure about their personnel, but may I ask if Mr. Housing Operation may can speak about their personnel and how they operate?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Stafford Building Company has been working for the agency now for the past, I think about 9 months that I've been involved with the agency. And Mr. Stafford has completed 1 round of fire damage unit to include changing out HVAC system. He's currently working on 8 casualty units that are fire damage plus one that was hit with a vehicle. Mr. Stafford has at his disposal, I believe, 2 different HVAC subcontractors that he utilized. And when we walked through the scope of work with all the contractors, he seemed to understand the scope of what we're trying to, the results we're trying to get, which is reconfigure those HVAC systems.
Is this a minority contractor?
Yes, yeah.
Okay then. And you say he does?
And just a footnote, as somebody that knows about Mr. Stafford, Mr. Stafford is also a member of one of the members of the Negro League. He one of the last players that played in the Negro League. I didn't know that. He's actually in the museum now.
Okay. And you said you only knew him, have known him for what, you said 9 months, 7 months?
Young man.
Well, I don't have to say this. He's younger than me. He appears to be younger than me, but when I came here, we was working casualty units one way. I worked with procurement to establish a different protocol for working with casualty units. And to put it bluntly, Mr. Stafford has been knocking them out of the box. You know, where it used to take years to turn around our casualty unit, we're now doing it on an average of about 6 months. And Mr. Stafford is so far has been ahead of schedule on completing his unit.
Okay, well, you answered my question, I'm satisfied.
Okay. So does Mr. Safford, does he have it, does he currently have a contract with the Housing Authority? Is that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
He's doing our casualty units right now, which is 8 burn units and 1 vehicular damage unit. And his contract for those units is supposed to be up in May, and he will be through mid-March.
Okay, all right. I don't have any further questions. Any other questions? If I can entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a recommendation that we accept the bid on Stafford Building Company.
All right, it's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the item's approved. Thank you.
Our next item is approve award of contract for agency on-call HVAC services. Requested services will be performed by 2 contractors to expedite the response time for each location that requires on-call HVAC services. Contractors will be identified as primary and alternate. The contractor shall furnish all labor, parts, materials, supplies, equipment, and transportation required to provide all on-call HVAC services and repairs, which includes weekends and holidays. The work includes performance of routine and emergency HVAC services to include but not limited to installations, repairs, upgrades, or replacements. An IFB was published. The IFB was mailed to 80 firms or individuals and 6 business organizations, posted in the HABD central office, advertised in Birmingham News, Birmingham Times, on our website. 2 firms submitted bids in response to the IFB. DeMont Heating and Cooling submitted for a regular business hour rate of $80 with after-hours rate of $100 and submitted a responsive and responsible bid. H&E Heating and Air submitted a regular business hour rate of $90 with after-hours rate of $135 and submitted a responsive and responsible bid. Management recommends award of contract to DeMont Heating and Cooling as the primary and H&E Heating and Air as the alternate.
Oh, so these are only 2 firms that submitted bids
These are the only 2.
out of 80 firms?
Out of 80 firms.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
Cover that one.
yeah,
But we are really working on initiatives to
Yeah.
promote this more and better outreach to, the vendors and contractors.
yeah, and I'm not trying to beat up on you guys, but I personally know I could pick up the phone right now. I could get on my cell phone right now and call some contractors, and I bet you I could get more than 2 to submit a bid. I guarantee you I could. This is concerning to me, and one of the things that I want to discuss when we do our outreach is I think there's some other things that we could do to help foster this relationships with vendors. I think Mr. Bell spoke about it when he did his presentation. I think we kind of got to change with the times, and I listened to you guys say that you submit. You post solicitations through the newspaper and things of that nature, but the fact of the matter is most people don't even read the newspaper anymore. So we've got to change with the times, and we've got to maybe do some other things a little bit differently, because if somebody doesn't read the newspaper or go down to the home office to look on the board, then you would never even know about it. Outside of, I guess, the ones that we reached out to, but.
And another thing we're doing too, Commissioner, is we send out this information via email to all of these companies. And so we ask that they send back a response stating to us that they received this notification. So we do receive those receipts back,
Yeah.
but they still just not submitting.
Yeah, something is not connecting, but we're going to get to the bottom of it, yeah.
Right, I know we had discussed this in the last board meeting, not the last one before when I was here, that Mr. Commissioner Patapsky was saying that he was connected with some firms and whatever, I think that to that knowledge, and we were going to reach out to, and then you got Mr. Bell and over the unit, so to speak. Something not getting through, so we need to look at, again, we're going to table it and put a pin in it, and maybe the next time we have a bid, we have done the proper work.
I'd like to ask Ms. Foster. I know from time to time we've gone back and contacted those persons that we reached out to, those entities, and asked them, why is it that you didn't respond? I was just wondering if we continue to do that on an ongoing basis.
Yes, that's what I was going to speak about, that we're putting together surveys after they've been awarded to see why they actually didn't decide to bid for these services. Just kind of get a feedback from those contractors to see,
Well, I know one of the
as we can do better that we're not seeing ourselves.
I mean, the catch, I know one of the feedbacks is being, we don't pay on time. Especially with the smaller business, say we don't pay on time, they can't continue to work when they can't get their money. So we gotta change that image. We gotta do something with that part of it. Because I know that they, even when you call them to your own house sometimes, they tell you up front, you gotta give me some money so I can make through. So that's one thing we gotta change. I didn't want to get into all the details now, but it's a trust issue going on.
But we're
Was there
working on
anything-
all avenues, and we're
Okay.
going to
All
address
right.
each one of them once we
Okay.
get the surveys back.
All right.
All right, if I can entertain a motion for the approval of contract for on-call HVAC services. Oh, and before we approve this, so for these two companies, are these companies, are these minority companies, or the
DeMont is a woman business.
woman-owned business? Okay,
And H&E is a minority business.
okay, all right, very good, okay. Thank you. All right, if I can entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we go ahead and approve the HVAC services as been recorded here and been recommended by the committee.
All right, it's been moved and properly second. All in favor? All opposed? All right, that item's approved. All right, housing operations, Mr. London.
Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman, thank you, Ms. Fowler.
Thank you, Ms. Fox.
We have one item for housing operations, and Mr. Blankenship, Vice President of Housing Operations, will make the presentation. Mr. Blankenship.
Good afternoon, everyone. Commissioners, before you today is a request to revise the public housing utility allowances. Code of Federal Regulations states that public housing authorities must review their schedule of utility allowances each year and must revise each allowance for a utility category where there is a change of 10% or more in utility rates or usage. Due to energy conservation efforts that HABD has taken with the energy performance contract on multiple sites, we now have much lower usages in electricity, gas, and water. These efforts are resulting in a greater than 10% change in the amount of utilities that we will be using. So therefore, we are required to update our utility allowances. Those utility allowances are also attached with your pathway. Do you have any questions that I may answer?
You said, Chairman,
Yeah, go ahead, Reverend.
are you saying to increase? Did I hear the word increase?
What, depending on the utility, if utility rates have increased or decreased, it would increase or decrease the utility allowance. Because the amount of energy we will be, the less amount of energy we will be using now, then the utility allowances will go lower. We will not be providing as high of a utility allowance because the amount of utilities being used is much lower.
You know, I was just thinking, and I know we got to update units somewhere, but I know if you're still using the old units, I'm thinking that it's going to continue to be an increase. And I don't know, I'm just talking, you know, if you got some old units, it's going to be a problem. You're going to have some people having a decrease because they got better systems, and you have another set of units somewhere else, got bad units, and the cost going to go up. How
So that is taken into
process this?
consideration.
Huh?
That is taken into consideration.
But I hear it here.
I'm sorry?
I didn't hear it on this particular
That
report.
is taken into consideration. The utility allowance revisions were inspected by Group 14 Engineering. They were part of the EPC. They came out to each property and looked at each unit with the different amenities that have been added, such as central heat and air, water saving conservation efforts, such as the low flow toilets, the low flow shower heads, the low flow aerators on your bathroom sinks and your kitchen sinks. Some sites did not have EPC measures taken, such as Southtown, Park Place, Tuxedo Terrace, and Glenbrook. So therefore, their rates are not changing. A separate utility allowance study was done for those, and there was not a change greater than 10% on any site there.
Okay.
But this was done by a licensed contractor that handled all that, and they did look at each specific site and each amenity that has been added on each of those sites,
Okay, when you said being added, what are you specifically saying?
such as central heat and air, low flow toilets, low flow shower heads, low flow aerators on your kitchen sinks, your bathroom sinks, LED lighting inside the units, those things that would reduce the amount of utilities that you would use.
Did that cross the board with all of the housing or development that we have, or they just in certain site that they went and viewed?
Most every site we have has had some amount of work done to it. Again, the exception being Southtown, because it is slated for renovation. EPC measures were not taken there.
So, Mr. Blankenship, this is a direct result of the funds that we spent for invested in EPC.
This is correct.
And so now we're beginning, commissioners, to see some results.
All right, go ahead, Attorney Possessor.
And the adjustment it's required by HUD, correct?
It is.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
All right. No other concerns, if I can entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the utility allowance for 2020 as stated.
All right, it's been moved and properly second.
Abstain.
All in favor?
Abstain.
All opposed? All right, note. Vice Chairman, attention. All right.
Thank you, Commissioners.
All right, thank you. All right, Council President Advisory Board's report, Mr. Lundy.
So we have Mr. Chris Reynolds, who is Vice President of CPAB. The President?
She's the communicator.
Communication. She's Resident Council President of Southtown Court, and she's making the presentation on behalf of CPAB. Ms. Reynolds?
Good afternoon.
Yeah,
Yeah, hear me now? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Residents, our partners, how's everyone today?
Good.
Before you, you have a packet for you. This is the Council President Advisory Board 2020 at a glance. CPAB. Okay. I apologize. What is CPAB? The Council President Advisory Board, CPAB, is comprised of resident leaders from the 14 communities within Housing Authority of the Birmingham District. We work with HABD and residents in the community to promote economic, social, recreational, and educational opportunities for all residents. There are more than 4,500 families living in our communities. CPAB was established in 1990, 30 years ago. The first board members were Keith Rice, Maggie Davis, Ms. Barbara Merchant. We were empowered and ready to serve. Some of our past endeavors include advocating for safer communities by installing fences and additional lighting, pushing for enhancements in apartments, and starting resident-owned businesses such as housing inspection services. We are currently under the leadership of President Bertha Davis. The CPAB has moved to greater heights. We continue to partner with many organizations to help bring resources into our communities. Our efforts have been shown through hosting events to bring our communities together, such as Mother's Day and Thanksgiving dinners, bringing in cultural awareness programs such as African drum and dance, and our biggest endeavor to date, the first Women's Empowerment Conference at the Boutwell Auditorium in April 2017 that now has exceeded our expectations. The event has now blossomed into National Resident Training Summit held in Birmingham annually to establishing the first business corporation owned by public housing residents in Birmingham, Alabama. The CPAB has established itself as a nationally recognized jurisdiction-wide resident organization, as it was recently awarded the National Resident Organization of the Year by National Alliance of Resident Services in Affordable and Assisted Housing. Thank you. Moving forward. So CPAB 2020 initiatives, as well as our components, will be our GPS Educational, Advantage, DAFA, and the mobile grocery store. A little bit about GPS Educational Services. We met them last year. GPS Educational Services is a Birmingham-based education company focused on delivering substantial solutions to deserving communities, schools, and students. GPS is dedicated to assist CPAB in empowering today's youth due to the educational system that have become more competitive for communities, parents, students, and schools. Our goal with GPS, the goal and expectations is for all 12 community centers to be equipped with in providing aid to students academically, socially, emotionally, and professionally. GPS will provide each site with a customizable and tailored program to fit the need of the youth. We're going to move forward to D Alpha. D Alpha. D Alpha is our career readiness self-sufficiency resident initiative. The mission of the resident-owned business is to provide residents of Housing Authority Birmingham District with career readiness, education, job training, and employment opportunities to achieve a goal at a better quality of life. Our foundational belief is that we will be the motivational force that help residents step into their destiny. The goal is for each willing and able unemployed resident or residents of HABD is given the opportunity to participate in a training program to empower and teach new skills and help them with quality employment opportunities. And some of those components are maintenance, cabinetry, cleaning services, landscaping, clerical, staffing, painting, and construction. So we'll go beyond construction. Advantage. The mission of Advantage is to create opportunities to enhance personal abilities to assist participants in overcoming barriers, to move successfully into the workforce and to retain employment, ultimately moving participants to total self-sufficiency. Advantage would provide public housing residents with 29 hours of on-the-job training at $10 per hour for 6 to 12 months. Individuals trained in areas such as maintenance, landscaping, clerical, cleaning services, and various other special projects. Participants would be required to enroll in GED preparation training, computer training, and post-secondary training. Our mobile grocery store. Our problem is most of our communities or most of the residents in public housing have been deemed by the USDA to be in what they call food deserts. So the food deserts are, where it's hard for residents, or there's no grocery stores close enough, or the stores that are in the communities are too high. So nearly 70% of Birmingham residents live in places without easy access to healthy food. This directly impacts the residents of HABD. Several communities do not have healthy options and no full grocery stores within miles. Currently, several communities are listed as food deserts by the USDA. The USDA definition of a food desert is vapid of fresh fruit, vegetables, and other healthful whole foods, usually found in impoverished areas. Many individuals in the areas also have transportation barriers or limited access via public transportation to access a grocery store. Resident councils surveyed residents in HABD properties to obtain interest and needs for a mobile grocery store. Over 85% show interest in utilizing the mobile grocery store 2 to 3 times as needed. The solution. The solution will be the mobile grocery store will provide a variety of products, including vegetables, milk, eggs, bread, sandwich meat, fruit, drinks, household items, and etc. The truck will run 3 to 5 days per week from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. daily. The mission is to provide healthy and affordable food directly to neighborhoods and families can cut down on the time and money spent traveling to a grocery store to purchase food. The goal of CPAB is to provide everyone in each public housing community with access to fresh and local food. In my conclusion, I just want to leave you guys with this. Our passion is for the people. We are the people. And without the people, no community can move forward. And in the words of Leonardo da Vinci, it had long since come to my attention that people of accomplishments rarely sit back and let things happen to them. they went out and happened to things. Thank you. Sorry, we are also asking for full support from the Board of Commissioners. And also, we have a prepared lease, and the CPAB is waiting on the HABD representative to sit down and go through it for signing.
Okay.
McCoy Building.
All right.
Questions?
Yeah, sure, yes. Yeah, don't take your seat too fast. So, as far as the lease, that would need to be discussed. And I'm not exactly sure where we are with that, but and I know we've had discussions for years about providing space for the CPAB in the McCoy building. So that is nothing new to me or to some of my colleagues. Yeah, but I'm hopefully we can get an update from Mr. London's staff where we are on that. Now, as far as the lease is concerned, I'm not certain if the board, I don't think we can have anything to do with the signing of the lease, but we can offer our support.
Thank you.
And we can offer a letter of support, a resolution of support.
Thank you.
That does fall within our purview. I know that we can do, but we will have to rely on Mr. Lundy to provide us with updates on where we are with that, and and hopefully with the execution of the contract that will be forthcoming. But I'm sure that there's some legalese and things that have to take place with the contract. So hopefully that's moving in the right direction. I will say this. This is one of the reasons why we wanted to have you guys make your presentation before the board, is because the board needs to be aware of where the CPAB is going, what your goals and your objectives are for the year, right? And so this is something that we want to do not only on an annual basis, but on a quarterly basis to see where you are, what you want to see in your community, because I think a lot of times what happens is, and I'm not saying it's intentional, but I think a lot of times as staff and as the housing authority, we try to provide resources for the residents, but a lot of times we don't get input from the residents as to what they want to see in the community, right? And so I think it needs to be a shared responsibility to where the agency is not dictating to the residents, this is what we want you to have in your community, this is who we think will serve you the best. I think it needs to be a collaborative effort, and to take it a step further, I think that we need to be asking our residents, what do you want to see in your community? So I'm glad that you highlighted that, and you were specific in what you wanted to see when you talked about the mobile grocery store, you talked about the educational services, you talked about the job placement. So you're specific. All right. Our goal is to make sure that we put things in place so that some of these things can be implemented. So back to talking about the budget, that's one of the things when we get ready to budget for the year. That's one of the things that we look at is where is the CPAB, or where do they fall in their needs as far as the residents in the budget. And so I'm glad that we're having this discussion before budget time, so we can make sure that we can allocate funds properly. We don't have unlimited funds, but we can make sure that the funds that we do have are allocated properly and can can filter back through the residents so they can be supported. So well done. I'm looking forward to working with you. And let me say this. This is something that actually I got this idea from a colleague of mine You okay? Can we get some water?
Please.
So, so this idea came about as far as speaking, the CPAB meeting with the board on a regular basis from some of my colleagues when I went to training. They do this at public housing authorities all across the country, where the CPAB meets with the board, gives reports to the board on an annual basis or quarterly basis, so the board can get an idea of you know, what's going on in these communities and what needs to take place. So I'm glad we were able to do this. And what I'd like to do is maybe bring you back in the next 90 days to see where we are on some of these items. So hopefully we're moving right down the right track. So thank you so much. My colleagues may have something to say as well.
No, I'm just good. I'm just, Shem, I'm just very excited about the information, about the work they are planning to do, and especially that moving around truck. You know, their grocery store, because that's a serious issue in terms of getting their proper food in the right places. That was a very ingenious thought, and I hope that I'll definitely be part of that part of it to make sure that we get that food in the right places. Okay, very good presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Lundy, as far as the information for the lease agreement, I don't know if this is the proper forum to discuss that without legal team.
I would say I would love to meet with, schedule a meeting with members of CPAB so we can discuss it. There's several things we need to discuss relating that, but as you know, particularly Ms. Davis, I know we talked about this for some time. I think when I first came to Birmingham, we talked about some of the things that can occur through in partnership with the Housing Authority, and in particular the old maintenance shop and how we would go forward with that. So I always supported that, continue to support it, but you just got to make sure everything's in place so that you know, we follow all the rules and guidelines, and that we're going to have something that's going to be meaningful and going to be good for the residents, and it's going to fall within all the regulations of the housing, of the Department of Housing and Urban Development. So I would like to be have a meeting within the next couple of weeks if we can, so we can start talking about some of the specifics.
All right. Very good. All right. All right. Staff reports, Mr. Lundy.
Chairman, Vice Chairman, Commissioners. The first report is Public Safety Report, and I have my Director of Public Safety, Mr. Foreman.
Good afternoon, Mr. Lundy, staff, and visitors, commissioners.
Good afternoon.
To present our public safety report today, we have with us Captain Sheila Finney, who's going to come up and present the report. Along with Captain Finney, we also have Sergeant Cornelius Cleveland and also Corporal Robert Connor, and also present is Officer Harry Long.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Captain Sheila Finney, as Director Foreman introduced me. I just want to say thank you for inviting us here to present our monthly report. We're just excited to be here and being a part of the partnership with HABD. I have with me Sergeant Cornelius Cleveland. He's our immediate supervisor over the CSP unit. I also have with me Corporal Robert Connor.
Mm-hmm.
He's presently assigned to the Tom Brown community as well as the Morton Simpson community. Also, I have Officer Harry Long. He's also assigned to the Tom Brown community and Morton Simpson community. Thank you again for this opportunity. I am glad to announce that Birmingham Police Department is working very hard to keep crime down in the housing community. Yesterday, I would have loved to have given you the report. It was down at -7.8. Well, today is down at -4.9 due to a domestic violence incident that took place in Marks Village. But every day we are fighting hard to ensure that the crime is decreased in the housing communities. I'll share some of our statistics with you. These are year-to-date. 2019, we had a total of 103 crimes within the housing community. Today, we have 98. We will not be satisfied until the number is 0. You turn to page number 2. We are comparing the statistics since the inception of CSP. CSP was organized back October the 20th, I'm sorry, it wasn't organized, it was organized. We actually hit the ground running October the 23rd, 2019. So the comparisons on page 2 is comparing the crime statistics from October the 23rd to February 2019. That's 2018 to February 2019 versus October the 23rd, 2019 to February 2020. Now, if you will look, we are down 16.24% since the inception of the CSP organization. Burglaries appear to be up, but there's no known pattern. But at this time, we are identifying some youth in some of the communities that are causing some of the burglaries. So we are using our strategies to ensure that these crimes are lessened every day. We are conducting several strategies in our communities each day. One of those strategies is community policing. Every day, our officers are assigned to each one of the housing developments. Now, depending on the crimes, we have to redeploy our officers in those developments that are more volatile, where most of the crimes are being committed. So they're not always going to patrol Cooper Green every day, all day, because Marsh Village is where the crimes are taking place. So that's how we are trying to, well, this is how we are continuing to have the crime decrease every day. So our officers are not just law enforcement officers. We're not just quote unquote beat officers. We are community police officers. We are trying to develop those relationships in the housing communities so we can develop that rapport with the residents and the HABD staff. What we are doing community police-wise, we go out, we provide handouts to the residents, like drugs, don't lose your friends to drugs, don't shoot flyers, flyers on rapes, just anything anything to educate them and offer that one-on-one engagement with each one of the people or residents in the housing communities. Not only that we are handing out flyers and things of that nature, we are currently conducting domestic talks. Our detectives from the Birmingham Police Department are coming out to community meetings and talking to the community on how to file a protection from abuse. They're talking and communicating with residents on the current domestic violence laws. Not only that our detectives are coming out to the community meetings, our crime prevention officers are coming out as well, and they're talking to residents on how to develop a neighborhood watch in each one of our communities. We've conducted about 4 so far, I think Southtown, Collegeville, Tom Brown, and Morton Simpson. Our goal is to conduct these type of talks in all of the communities. Okay. Our narcotics division actually came out to the Collegeville community and conducted talks on how to report drug-related crimes in each one of the communities. This will help us get rid of that criminal element as it relates to drugs. And last, we are trying to implement, well, I take that back, we're not trying, we will implement the Safe Passage program. The Safe Passage program, it has 3 segments. It's the walking school bus, the parent patrol, and the safe haven.
Okay.
What it is, we will be partnering with parents in the residence. We'll be partnering with local businesses, the police department, our CSP officers, the fire department. Director Foreman and I have been having meetings of the minds several months now. He has the U.S. Attorney on board. The city of Birmingham will be cleaning our areas, because what the program consists of, safe and secure routes for children being walking to and from school. So it works together. The walking school bus, like I said, walking the children safely to and from school. The parent patrol will allow parents to go to the schools and stand at the entrances to ensure that the children get to their classes safe. And last but not least is the Safe Haven program, where the police department, recreation centers within the housing community, the fire department, local businesses will partner together to provide a safe place, a place of refuge for our children in danger. We will be implementing this program through the summer to start the first day of school on next year. So we'll be talking about that throughout the year. Thank you again for partnering with the Birmingham Police Department, and we look forward to our continued partnership. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Good report, good report. And I'll say this, the times that I've been to the communities, I've seen a more engagement than I've seen in a long time with the Birmingham Police Department and our residents. And I'll say this, since we brought in the Public Safety Director, Mr. Foreman, I think I've seen more engagement comprehensively overall. That's what I've seen with my own 2 eyes. And so I'm encouraged by what I've heard. Now, I will have to say this, and I was looking at the chart here, and I know this is a tough subject, but as far as the homicides, we didn't discuss that.
Yes.
And that's something that's concerning. Looks like we're maybe not on the right trajectory, but I do see where you guys are putting things in place to help prevent that, and I think you are making your best effort. It's just, of course, it's just concerning anytime someone loses life, and so that's concerning to me as well, especially when we want to make sure that our residents are safe within their communities.
But Jim, I can say that I'm very pleased to see a number of patrols that have increased in the area that we are concerned. So I'm just excited about that. With my little humor, so to speak, sometimes I look like there's a blue Christmas out there, which means that there is a lot of interest in the areas of concern, and you're doing doing a good job to be available for people who can see you in vision. Appreciate that.
Captain Finney, I just have, you guys are doing a great job. I just have a question regarding this calendar or community engagement and productivity. I'm looking at CPAB advisory board meetings and asset manager meetings.
Yes, sir.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes, sir. What it is, these are the meetings that we attend.
Okay.
The meetings, they will increase as we are invited, and Director Foreman is providing us with a calendar of all of the community meetings, because we are wanting to implement our programs. So we're wanting to go to all of the community meetings. But that's what this is.
Okay,
Just say asset managers meeting, where it says January 23rd, that means we went to Illerton Village, right there to the left. It says Illerton Village. We went to the asset managers meeting on the 23rd.
Okay. So I would recommend for the managers, if we're meeting on a monthly basis, that we invite our fellow officers to come to your meetings, and would respectfully request from CPAB as the resident council have meetings to
We have
invite.
attendance.
Yes. Okay. Very, very good. So every month we'll get a
Yes,
calendar
sir.
like this run out. Okay, very, very good. That's all I got.
Anything else? All right, thank y'all for coming. Thank you so much. All right. All right, guess we're done with procurement.
So I have my Director of Procurement, Carl Edwards, to talk about procurement outreach.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good afternoon, I'm sorry. Good afternoon, Mr. Lundy and guests. As the board is aware, vendor outreach is an ongoing process. And I think, each month I come up here and talk about vendor outreach, and I just want to make sure that everybody understands that it's an ongoing process. And, sometimes there may be instances where we may possibly get a low submission rate or something for certain particular solicitations that we put out, but we are reaching out to the community and making sure that they are getting this information. And the information that we're sending out is based on what the agency needs at that time. We track that information to make sure that we get a response back from the vendor. If they're going to respond, we have that information logged in. If they're not going to respond, we track that also. And we do that to kind of gauge what's needed in the community as far as we're concerned, so we can make sure that we're providing them with the necessary information. And I heard the commissioner say that, there may be an issue with that, but what we are possibly not trying to do is not to eliminate anybody from bidding on these projects. And what I mean by saying that is that by providing the information any kind of way, based on newspaper, based on emails, based on us talking to people and telling them to come in and meet with us, that keeps everybody in the loop as far as making sure they have this information. So what we're doing now is creating some strategic plans to make sure that the ones that state that they didn't understand or didn't receive or have an issue with the information that we send them, we're going to do some work sessions. And those work sessions are going to be done on every quarter. And that's going to be based on whoever responded to say that they were interested, but they just didn't have the proper knowledge of how to do certain things. So by providing those work sessions, we should be somewhat narrowing down what we're trying to do as far as trying to up our submission rate. And sometimes we may get a lot of submissions on certain items. It just depends on what that item is. But by doing the work sessions, we can kind of narrow it down to, okay, what's your issue? What are you doing? That we may assist you with. If you need some additional assistance, we may can point you in the right direction to make sure that you have this information. So we're doing the work sessions every quarter, and we're going to start those in March. So once we start those in March, then we're going to do a bigger doing business blitz and have the majority of all the contracts that we have or potential contractors to come out and join us in doing workshops at the blitz, doing informational sessions. So we're going to do a larger one then, and it's probably going to be in the next probably 90 days that we're going to do that, along with doing the work sessions to kind of reach out to the individuals.
All right, thank you, Mr. Edwards. I don't know what it is. I think as far as the outreach, I think you guys are really making a better effort with outreach. You see you reached out to 80 firms with one submission. I think it was 73 firms with another one. And so I think we're improving with the outreach, but the outcome is not getting better. Right. So let me finish. And this is what I've noticed, this from observing, for a lot of professional services contracts, I don't think we have a shortage of folks that respond on the professional services side. I haven't seen, just from I don't have any empirical data to prove that, but I'm just telling you what I see on a monthly basis when it comes to professional services. I think we get a robust amount of submissions. All right. Now, when it comes to stuff like HVAC, technicians on call, it baffles me, and with all the HVAC companies that I know, why they wouldn't submit a bid at $200 an hour for on-call services. I just don't get it.
And I understand that. The thing about that is it's not the lack of us reaching out to them, because I have staff.
I understand, and I just agree with you. It's not that you're not reaching out. I'm telling you something else is amiss. Is what I'm trying to say. It's another issue. I don't know what it is, but it's got to be something else, because if you reached out to 80 companies for a $200 an hour job per hour and only 2 people submitted bids, sir, something is amiss.
And I understand that. And the thing about it is, I talked to my counterparts at other agencies.
Yeah.
They have the same issue.
Well,
So it's not-
I respect that. I respect that, Mr. Evans, but I'm not on the board of commissioners for any other agency but this one.
And so,
Yeah.
Mr. Edwards, one of the things we've talked about was a follow-up on procurement as to why these various companies are not submitting. And if memory serves me correctly, we did maybe a limited survey at one point and to find out why people are not applying for responding to some of these solicitations. And I think if we can spend a lot more focus on that aspect as to asking them, why is it that you're not responding? We've got this opportunity for you to bid on HVAC services. Why is it that you're not interested? Is it that you're too busy? Is it that you don't have capacity? Economy is doing well, maybe you're too busy and just don't want this work. But to bring back to the board and even prior to the board, to me, get a better sense of why people are not responding, I think we'll kind of begin to answer and address some of the concerns. If we can, and we'll have some more discussion about that, but I don't know if you have opportunity, if you can enlighten me or enlighten us on, some of the kind of responses you're getting back.
And most of the time, and that's why I was going to do those vendor sessions, because the responses I get back is basically just say it's not interested. And there's nothing else attached to that. I asked them to expand on that, but the only response I get is just not interested.
Not interested, yeah.
And the thing about that is, when I talk to them over the phone, I express to them that, okay, here's something that you can really, you can really get a contract for. And all you have to do is just submit some documentation. All you have to do is have the capacity. All you have to do is be experienced and have your certifications. So when I get that response back where I'm not interested, then that's when I reach back and say, hey, okay, why are you not interested, really? Because is there another issue? But there's no response to that. And that's the reason why I say I was going to do these sessions, so I can sit face to face with them and kind of get a more of a clear picture of what the issue is, if there's an issue on our side, as opposed to maybe your company has an issue as opposed to us.
Yeah, well, we're gonna keep on working at it, and my unscientific survey that I conducted is that and I've talked to a couple of vendors, and and these are non-professional services. All right, these are and so what I'm getting is that there's maybe some issues with timeliness of payment. Right, and that's the only thing. That's the only feedback that I'm getting is that maybe it was in the past, maybe, and I know that there's some things that we're working on. But you know what? I haven't spoken to anyone that's in the professional service realm that's told me that they had an issue with timeliness of payment. It's always the maintenance contracts, things of that nature. But I haven't spoken to anybody in the professional services. They seem to be getting paid on time. It seems to me. And so maybe that's where we can start looking like the professional services versus maintenance contracts and see maybe where, maybe there be some discrepancy there. I don't know. I'm just telling you what I'm hearing unscientifically. Okay. All right. Anything else? Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Edwards. We're going to keep working. We're going to keep working. Yes, sir. All right.
So, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Vice Chairman stepped out.
Yeah, he had to leave. Yeah.
Okay. Commissioners, we have two other reports. You know, previously we talked about, had some a fair amount of discussion about the term emergency. And when I presented to the board, shared to the board that we have a number of local preferences that address a wide range of critical housing needs. And so I'm going to ask my, you can do it as a team if you like, or you can come one at a time. But I'm going to have my Director of Housing Ops and my Vice President of Assisted Housing to talk about the all the preferences that we have to do with critical housing needs.
Good afternoon once again.
Yeah.
In regards to the preference for homeless families, previously, prior to 2018, the Public Housing Department and the Admissions and Continued Occupancy Policy, which is the ACOP, which is kind of the rule book that we govern HABD public housing by. The only priority preference that we had listed in the ACOP at that time was for qualified applicants requiring housing due to documented family abuse, natural disaster, and fires. And it said that they would be housed immediately upon availability of the appropriate size apartment. Prior to February of 2018, that is the only preference that we had. In May of 2018, we brought to the board and the board approved our homeless preference. And I'll read that for you. As that is stated in our ACOP and in our policy, the homeless preference will apply to any applicants who lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence, have a primary nighttime residence that is a supervised public or private shelter providing temporary accommodations, live in a public or private place not ordinarily used as accommodation for human beings, in that it lacks indoor plumbing, toilet facilities, adequate or safe electrical service, heat, or a kitchen, or a designated social service agency that certifies the family as homeless. To qualify for the homeless preference, applicants must be referred by a service agency that is able to supply a signed certification that the applicant meets the above definition of homelessness and is qualified to apply for housing under these criteria. So that is the housing or the homeless preference that we have approved and we currently have in the ACOP. Again, that was approved on May 21, 2018 on that. I know there's been concern and question about someone called and said, I'm homeless, I'm sleeping on my sister's sofa, or I am staying with a family member or a friend. HUD does not view those situations as homelessness. But we of course base this and we did a lot of research on this preference, and this is basically HUD's definition of homelessness as well. And I'll refer to Section 8 as well, and then we'll be glad to answer any questions.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
So if you look at the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Waiting List Preference listing, we have five waiting list preferences, which includes involuntarily displaced, working family preference, elderly disabled, domestic violence, and homelessness. Elderly disabled is in conjunction with the working family preference, which public housing has as well, because if we give families a preference for a working family, we also have to consider those that are elderly and or disabled. As you can see, I just list a quick summary of what each one entails. The way that preferences work on the Section 8 side is when the waiting list is open for those respective waiting lists, an applicant has an opportunity to state if either one of these situations relate to their household. If they do at that time, that preference is added. When their name comes up to the top, they just have to verify that that preference is allocated for them. And so that's the way that we increase their status on the waiting list,
because we can't have emergency housing, but that's the way that their increase, where their application may have came number 1,000, but with that special preference that they've applied for, it will push them all the way up to the top. With families that are also around with those that requested those preferences. If you have any questions about any of them, I'm welcome to answer.
Did I hear any discussion about substandard housing?
That's in the involuntary displaced
Okay.
preference.
And how about on the public housing side, Ms. Blankenship?
On the public housing side, we didn't have anything specifically with that, that wording. Only the situation where the accommodation lacks indoor plumbing, toilet facilities, adequate or safe electrical service, heat, or kitchen.
Yeah, that would be substandard housing.
Substandard, yes. Kind of just spells it out without stating.
So, to that point on the substandard housing piece, who determines if the living situation is substandard? Do you have an inspector that will go out and verify that they're living in substandard conditions?
So for the Section 8 side, it has to be families that qualify as basically being displaced because of a governmental action or natural disaster, or a local government has condemned their current place of residing, or any additional, I have additional details, and the administrative plan is really exhaustive, but those are some of, they just have to have verification of that substandard, but no.
So basically, it has to be condemned?
Yes.
Okay.
So you can,
Or a
but
natural
you,
disaster,
Oh, yeah,
or
right.
something like that.
Okay.
so if we had a local inspector that went out and said, the water's shut off. Let's say that this person is paying the rent, but the landlord didn't pay the water bill, and the water and water is cut off. Now, I would view that as substandard housing, and in most cases, the inspectors, local inspectors, would say, well, you may have to move if the landlord doesn't get the water on within a certain period of time. Do we have anything in our policy that would address that situation?
If it's a city inspector or something of that sort, and just verification can be provided and documented, then we could have them validate that as an involuntary displacement preference.
Okay, is the same thing with, on the public housing side?
Public housing does not currently have that wording, no.
Okay, so we probably need to look at strengthening public housing substandard definition, because you probably have a number of people who fall in that category. Something is not functioning, inspector comes out, puts pressure on the landlord, but they still don't have adequate housing, and they apply for one of our units.
Okay. We can certainly have that next month.
Right, sounds good. Anything
I don't
else?
have any other questions. Any questions, comments? Okay, all right. Thank you. I think you provided some clarity.
One more situation. What about families who are paying more than 30% of their adjusted income for utilities and rent? Is there a category for that? I know some housing authorities use that as a local preference.
Well, if we have families paying more than 30% of their adjusted rent, then they.
Like if they're paying, well, I think of the way it's structured, if they're paying more than 50% of their income for rent and utilities, they could qualify for a preference.
Not on Section 8.
Okay, what about public
That
housing?
on-
So I would just ask that we review that, because I think there's an opportunity to maybe capture some applicants who are paying too high of rent and need affordable subsidized housing.
Sure. Anything?
That's it? All right, thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right. All right, okay. Presentation by persons desiring to speak before the HAB Board of Commissioners. Mr. Knighton? While we waiting on Mr. Knighton, Ms. Body, if you want to come forward? Mr. Knight, we're gonna let Ms. Body go.
Officer Conlon, Officer Long.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First of all, honor to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Ms. Davis, I love you. To the CPAB, I love y'all. To the Board of Commissioners, Mr. London, love you. To everybody out authority, love you. This is real. Cardell, I called you last year when a young man threatened to shoot my house. Threatened to shoot me. I let you speak to Officer Willis about this young man. I watched this young man beat this girl. Officer Connor and them can witness this. He beat her one time, he ran her through my house. To the point where I watched him dog the police. I even tried to help him get him a place to stay. The young man's name was John Peters. To the point where I offered to try to help him get an apartment in public housing, and he denied it right in front of Officer Connor and Officer Long. On the 1st of January, he rolled by doing a hand gesture, talking about what he gonna do to me. I haven't been able to walk because he keeps riding, threatening me, and I'm sick of it. I deal with PTSD because I got shot in the head twice. I have taken every measure I put a warrant out on him. I'm going in the morning and put another warrant out on him. When we talk about the safety in public housing, I want it. Because as the president of Morton Sims and the vice president of CPAB, I love them ladies. They are women and they are leaders in the communities too. I'm the only male president. And I have been fighting and fighting and fighting. And I am tired of being threatened in my own community that I serve. I am tired that I can't go to the store. I walked out my door the other morning at 8:30. He pulled up on me and pulled a gun. I'm not playing. I want everybody here to hear me today, because I'm not playing. Something has to be done when it comes to these residents and their guests. Yes, it's in house authority policy that a resident can have a guest up to 14 days, but these residents are letting their people come in and think they can do what they want to do. And at the same time, so many people are so afraid to call the police because of retaliation. I would not be afraid of where I live and who I serve. I have talked to them. They were ready. We got a meeting tomorrow with Mr. Washington about this resident. It hurts me to see women get beat. I've been in domestic violence myself, and it doesn't pay for nobody. And I just had another young lady who stayed next door to me at 4 o'clock in the morning, knocked on my door 2 nights ago because her man was beating on her. I didn't want to open my door at 4 o'clock in the morning, but I did because I wouldn't let that young lady stay out in the cold. But what am I gonna do as a leader? What am I gonna do? How much more am I gonna take? I don't want to keep coming here. I don't want to keep calling. I want to be able to serve my community with an iron fist and not be afraid. And I'm asking. And Cardell, I called you, and I thank you for picking up your phone when I called you to talk to you, because at that moment, I was about to lose it, and I needed somebody to talk to, and you were there. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Knight. And
Thank you.
we're gonna, Mr. Lundy, I know we talked about that situation, and I know that we've done what we needed to do. So, what other measures we can take, to make sure that our residents are safe, that would be helpful. But I know that I can say that you addressed it when you found out about it, and I appreciate you, getting on it as soon as you found out about it. So to that, sir, I appreciate you, addressing the situation.
And of course, I turned it over to our Director of Public Safety. He addressed it and met with all parties, and don't know that we can get into all the solutions at this forum, but we did discuss, as I understand, some solutions, and it's just a matter of executing some of those solutions and some of those options. Am I correct, Director
Yes, Mr.
Foreman?
Lundy, we have taken actions to remedy this problem. We've sat down and had different discussions, including with Mr. Knighton, also police officers and property manager. And as we said a moment ago, there's a second meeting tomorrow, and we're going to be making recommendations to the property manager on how to go about making sure this incident never happens again.
All right. Thank you. All right, Ms. Body, go ahead.
I'd like to say good afternoon to everyone. My first question is, first of all, thank the board for passing our air conditions. I brought some residents with me today. If you all would raise your hand, raise it high so they can see. I'm residents from Illerton, and thank you for keeping your word. Mr. Lundy did come to our meeting on January the 22nd, and it was interesting. The question I asked was, what are you all going to do with Illerton? Well, we found out that Illerton was no longer in the comprehension plan. And I said when I was at the meeting, if it's not in writing, it does not exist. So I got a chance to look at the minutes from the previous meeting. Illerton has not been in the comprehensive plan since 2009, after Mr. Ruggs left. Now, the only commissioner that was on board at that time was Commissioner Todd. And so, but now it trickles on down to you all because you're getting ready to do a new 5-year plan. But I wanted to ask Commissioner Todd, what happened? Why were we taken out of the comprehensive plan? And I appreciate, I'm not going to say who told us that we weren't in there. But at the same time, I still want to know. Now that we know we are no longer in there, what's your plan for Illerton? Then I have another question about the HBC, the services that you all have already done with HBC in Illerton. I don't know who that company did those and whether you had any problems with them, but why weren't they on board to do the new air conditions? So those are my questions.
Okay, so as far as the HVAC piece, Mr. Lundy, I have to yield to you on that. I'm not certain of what on the HVAC piece, but I will say this concerning the comprehensive plan. Well, more importantly, the 5-year plan that we're about to put together, and I think that's coming up here. We're going to have some meetings and some discussions about the new 5-year plan that's going to take place. And I think it'll be safe to say that Illerton and Smithfield will be a part of the new 5-year plan. I feel pretty confident in saying that Smithfield and Illerton will be a part of the 5-year plan. Now, I know that we've had discussions about Smithfield and Illerton about the redevelopment of Smithfield and Illerton, and there was an RFP that was out for a developer to develop Smithfield and Illerton, and that since has been pulled back. And I would like to have some further discussions with Mr. Lundy from the board perspective to see where we are in the process with the development of Smithfield and Illerton since that RFP or RFQ, I can't remember which one, was pulled back. I know there was some some circumstances with a choice neighborhood grant. I think that was the goal, was to go after a choice neighborhood grant for Smithfield and Illerton. But I think that there may be some other opportunities to redevelop Smithfield and Illerton without a choice neighborhood grant. I don't think that the choice neighborhood grant is the only game in town. So if we decide not to apply for a choice neighborhood grant, I think there are some other development opportunities coming down the line. But to answer your question, Smithfield and Islington, I'm pretty certain will be a part of the next 5-year plan and the annual plan moving forward.
Now, I did see for 2011, only for 2011, the only thing was mentioned in the plan was air conditions for Islington. I don't know whether the air conditions were for the new area or for all of Islington. Now, what happened to that? Those are my questions. So, and so I leave that with you. If you can't tell me today, another time you wanna get it together and come back and whatever.
Right.
But we need to know what happened to the air conditioners that were in the 5-year plan.
I would just add,
2011.
I would just add to the discussion, Ms. Body, you know, when we met, one of the things we talked about was that now that we're going forward with the 5-year plan, the planning process for the 5-year plan, that this is the time now to put forward some of your desires, some of your
We have only one desire.
I understand.
That you finish what you started.
I understand.
And that's only one desire. That's simple.
And so
We don't have to go through all of this and all that and that. Finish what you started.
part of the process is that my team will be going around to all the sites and talking to the residents and talking about the 5-year plan and asking for your input. Now, of course, we're going to get a large list of, a large wish list of things to do. And one of the things we have to do as a staff is recommend something to the board, and as a board, to prioritize the best interests of the sites as we go forward. And it's to sequence them so that we can identify funding that we can apply to these various redevelopment concepts. And to your discussion, Mr. Chairman, regarding Smithfield and Islington as it relates to choice neighborhood. Yeah, there was some discussion in 2019 about going forward with a choice neighborhood. We put out a procurement very briefly in the event that we were successful in getting we were moving forward on the choice neighborhood grant, that we would want to look at those sites for strategic reasons and look at how we can redevelop both sites. With that, having said that, there are still opportunities to do a more detailed analysis of Smithfield, Islington, and some of the other sites that are not part of the RAD redevelopment structure. And let's see what we can do. But we can't do it all at one time. We have to sequence and we have to prioritize it. And certainly Islington is one that we spent money in the past. I can't address what happened in 2011, 2009, but going forward, there's a real opportunity to get some of those things on the list for a 5-year plan.
Very good. And Ms. Bott, I want to publicly apologize to you for not making the meeting. I was at work. I could not leave work. But hopefully I can try to attend next.
You weren't on board during the time when we were taking out all the plans.
Right. But yeah, but I was saying.
But you came on later on because you replaced Mr. Thomas.
Right.
So it's still, you don't be able to dodge the bullet, nor you and Mr. Lundy. And I know you're playing around with it and everything. You're not coming on out saying what you actually plan to do. But at the same time, we just need you all to finish what you started.
Yeah. Well, I was speaking relative to, at the last board meeting, I told you I was going to attend your meeting. And I did not attend, and I just want to apologize to you because I was at work and I could not make it.
It was a good meeting.
I heard, very good. Very good. Okay.
But we need to go on from where we are.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll be standing here asking you as many meetings as I can. What you gonna do?
I don't doubt that one bit.
All right.
No. All right, Angela Scoggins.
Good afternoon, board,
Good afternoon.
staff, residents and officers and visitors. My name is Angela Scroggins. I'm the secretary for the Residents Council of Harris Homes. And right now, I'm going through a stressful situation, and I done called the city about it, but we need adequate disability parking over in Harris. I mean, it's really public housing. Because just because we don't stay in a set disability apartment, but I'm in a one-bedroom flat, but, you know, it's sad when you're scared to leave your house because you don't know if you're gonna be able to park when you come back home. And when I have to come from 6 hours at the top of the hill with groceries, I go bury a loved one in Detroit, Michigan, and come back, and I got to park down the street at 3 o'clock in the morning and bring my luggage in. And we're not talking about new residents. We're talking about residents that's been there. But it's getting ridiculous that they're not going to respect the disability or the elderly. So what do we do? I mean, how can we get adequate parking for disabled people in public housing?
That's something we'll have to look into, and how we can improve, and if there's a way to increase parking for handicap. We've worked with the management, with the property manager. We talk to our development team.
Well, what's about property management and I miss Mr. Tony.
I understand.
Because when you got to go over their head, you know, I had to call the city, and the inspector came out there yesterday, but because he done gave the address to the technician the wrong address. I'm 667. He done sent someone to 677. So he gets over to my house and tell me now I got to get back in the rotation, but it was his typo, not mine. So now I got to wait, I guess, some more weeks and months because he typed the wrong address. And I've been going there I'm going to my 4th year there.
We'll look into that. You know, one of the challenges, you know, we have to do an assessment to determine what the need is on each site. And based on that, try to make accommodations, not only for parking, but for your living space as well. And typically we'll have 5% of the units will be handicap accessible. But there's some other things that goes along with that, with the street curb cuts, handicap ramps, you know, parking spaces. And I think it begins with doing a full assessment of what the real need is. Because some sites you might need more spaces and more accessible units than in other sites. Your situation may be unique, it may not be unique, but we're going to take a close look.
Well, you know, we only have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 188 units. There's disability apartments. But you got residents that are disabled who don't stay in those disability units. And
well, that's something that we can look at.
Being totally disrespected.
If that's the case, we can rectify that, and it's just a matter of I don't even know if it requires a policy change. It's just following the regulations. And so if sometimes you'll move a person into a handicap unit because there's no one on the list, or no one in the other units that is in need of a handicap unit. So you might move a able-bodied family to a handicap unit. But the moment you have a need for that handicap unit, the regulations require you to move that person that is able-bodied to another unit and free up the space for a person who needs that.
Well, I've been told that the people in the disability unit has been there over 20 and 30 years.
Well,
So
we'll
I
take a
don't
look
think
at that.
nobody gonna move them out of there.
Mr. Blankenship will take a look at it.
Okay. And we need that speed limit. There's another thing, that speed limit, they're not doing 25. I mean, they're not doing, They're not, yeah. I mean, the police can be, I hate to say it, but we had the police sitting there and they go past that. The 35, 45, 55, they almost took my car door off and I'm trying to get out. So, I mean, we just need, more help. That's all I ask for, just, somebody, we just need more help.
Well, thank you, Ms. Scroggins.
I'm not knocking because swelling them, I mean, that's them, but we the residents, when they go home, we need more help.
Yeah. Well, one question I have as far as handicap parking, are there spaces available, handicap parking spaces available there?
Right now, the city's supposed to be putting one of those disability signs, hopefully whenever they, get it straight, I'll get one of those, placed 25 feet within my home, that's what he told me.
Okay, but I guess what I'm asking is that are there designated handicap parking spaces there at Harris Home?
They have one in front of me at one.
Ma'am?
There was a disagreement with two families, and this particular lady family, she got hers put in. She got hers put in within a matter of weeks, or within a matter of days. But it was a confrontation. It was a court battle or something like that. But she does have. And she has it right, almost right in front of her.
Two of them, right together.
And I know that, but I don't know about y'all, but I know it's on there when we first come in.
Okay.
It's two people, neighbors got one here and one here.
But what she's basically saying, they don't live there. They just come in.
Okay. Well, the reason why I was asking is I didn't know if it was like handicap parking spaces and people were parking there illegally, maybe not with placards or anything like that. That's why. Okay.
They used to have handicap, but she did a handicap signs where she stayed, because used to. When she come home, she got to go all the way down the street there and bring her groceries because everybody, boyfriend and stuff, anything out for Spain,
So that's
I didn't put it like that.
Gotcha. Okay. I got it. Okay. All right.
The pictures from this person, so she knows.
All right. Okay.
It's just getting old.
Yeah. Well, I think Mr. Blankenship is going to give you the. Okay.
Telling their parents to park there.
Okay. Very good.
We cannot make a sign parking. We don't have a sign parking, but if we need to install more handicap parking.
Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. Thank you, Ms. Scroggins. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. All right. I believe that's it. So if I can entertain a motion to adjourn. It's been moved and properly second. All in favor? All opposed? All right. This meeting's adjourned.